it's so true, and you just, it's something that we have to take time to just ponder, to really think about these things, because we can get so caught up and used to receiving our Lord in the Eucharist, and it becomes just something we do automatically out of rote and not actually thinking about the wonderful experience that we have spiritually. This is the thing. It's we don't see it happening. We don't actually see the miracle take place that is before us. This is an act of faith. That is why it's called the mystery of the faith. So we can't just say, "Oh, I believe," and walk away. Just then walk, back to our spot in the pews and just, sit there. Better not be sitting.
Unless you have a medical
really, unless you have a medical reason, but to just, then forget exactly everything we just did during Mass. It is part of the spiritual journey, and these are the beautiful oases that we have in this desert of life, that give us that strength. And it reminds me of talked a few times about the Catholicism contained in the Lord of the Rings, and one of the foods that the 9 travelers to Mordor were given from the elves of Lorien was lembas bread, which means bread of life, which you gotta think, Tolkien, being a staunch Catholic, was inspired by the Eucharist. And one of the things is qualities of this lembas bread is that it will, one small bite, just one little bit, is enough to sustain even a grown man for an entire day. Here we have the Eucharist, which is certainly greater than a fake bread created. But the symbolism here, it is enough. The grace is contained in the Eucharist to be enough to help us work out our salvation. But what I mentioned before, we have to cooperate with those graces. We can't think that we're okay. The moment you think you're okay, that's where you have a problem. The moment you think it's all right, that's when you have to stop, really examine.
Well, just as you were talking about like the miracles and stuff, like we know any sort of transformation, like hindsight is 20/20. Like we don't actually see in real time what a choice has, the impact a choice has on our body. Let's say, for instance, I know we bring this up a lot, like for our health. They recommend journaling or documenting when you start, because during the journey, you're not going to see or recognize those changes right away. It's going to be when you look back at the progression that you've made and make effort. And that is, if we were to apply that to our spiritual life, we can see how true that is. As I was talking about in the last episode with my journey to the religious life, at the time, I couldn't see certain things truly happening, but it was when I look back, I was like, yeah, God was so there. He was absolutely there. And so it's just, to me, it's like this works the same way. And the more communions you receive and strive to be more worthy, the better that it will get. The better you'll be able to bear your crosses to get to heaven. So it's not a gift that we should take for granted.
Almost certainly not, and we know the Church has made that very clear by making it one of her primary precepts. Remember, the 6 laws of the Church are laws that every Catholic follows. It applies to all of us. Certain laws only apply to a certain group, certain individual, certain situation. These 6 laws apply to all of us in one degree or another. This law, it should be, where there is happiness, where there is love, there is no burden. If we're receiving our Lord and we enjoy receiving our Lord, we relish this union, this is like, is this a command? It's like our Lord saying, this is my great commandment, love one another as I have loved you. To love is a command? Well, I suppose at a time it seems like a command is when you have to love your enemies as you love your friends, because that could be difficult. But love in itself, it's what we are all called to do. We're all called to love and to be loved. You know, of course, that's first with God, to love God and to be loved by God. And the way that we are truly loved by God is if we conform ourselves to his holy will.